Gender roles is a public image of being a particular gender that a person presents to others. Us women are used to being told to stay home, cook for the family, and take care of the children.
People always think that cooking is a girl's job, but it definitely isn't. All guys should learn how to cook so they can survive on their own and not need somebody. So here I'm cutting some tomatoes for some dinner. Gotta cut some of these. Come here, take a look at this. Come on. In Arabic, this is called kusa. What is this called in English?
It's a zucchini filled with rice and meat.
Cooked it myself. Another thing is a lot of people think that cleaning and doing dishes is for girls only and is a girl's job. But of course a guy needs to know how to do dishes. A lot of the changing rules, so this is not just for girls, it's for guys too. Make sure everything is clean. If you can't clean for yourself, no one ever wants to clean after you, so you gotta learn how to clean.
Men, on the other hand, are taught and encouraged to be the breadwinners for their families, that is, going to the workforce, and when at home to only do macho activities such as mowing the lawn and repairing items around the house.
See here, most people think that girls and women don't know how to, fix cars and check on cars, see what's wrong with them. But here's a video of my lovely mom checking to see if her oil is okay. A lot of people think girls can't do it. How's your oil?
Perfect.
Nice.
The right level.
Good.
They are also told to wear dark colors and to have short hair.
98.9% of the roof workers are males. Nowadays, that number has changed because of the increase in women learning how to roof.
Men are now the ones staying at home and taking care of the kids, while the women go out to work and provide financial stability. And as for the house chores, they are now being done by both genders.
So this is Jet, just playing video games. This is a guy. A lot of guys play video games. I see them to be more professionalized.
What is gender equality? Gender equality is when men and women have the same rights, resources, opportunities, and protection.
When thinking about the kind of jobs that males can do that are mostly female-like, in 2016, over 90% of U.S. female jobs were categorized by either being a receptionist, childcare worker, or a nurse.
Historically, the four main contributors of women overtaking male-dominated fields have been a civil war, a world war, another world war, and female labor being a straight-up bargain. I don't know why I'm smiling about that. In 1800, 90% of US school teachers were men. But in the following century, the combined forces of the growing public school system, the Industrial Revolution, and the Civil War led to a massive shortage of teachers. So what did school systems do? Recruit unmarried women, because really the only other opportunities outside the home available to them at that time were working in other people's homes or in textile factories. So by 1900, 75% of school teachers were women, who were also consistently underpaid compared to their male counterparts, who had way more bargaining power when it came to their paychecks, because thanks to the Industrial Revolution, they had more job opportunities than ever before. So school systems were like, hey dudes, listen, I mean, if you want to teach, that's fine. We'll still pay you more than the ladies who are just cheap, but we'll also reserve administrative roles like principal or superintendent just for you. Sound good? America's first librarians were mostly educated white dudes from well-to-do New England families who could essentially afford to not get paid that much money and just hang out with books all day. And for that reason, they quickly attracted a reputation of just kind of not being good at anything else, or in other words, back in those days, those who couldn't libraried. libraried. Then in the 1880s, as more men left the library to pursue more entrepreneurial and capitalistic ideals, women started entering the libraries, and administrators were like, oh, this is great because you ladies are a bargain! By 1930, 92% of librarians were women, making it one of the most feminized professions in the US, second only to teaching. And actually, after World War II, the American Library Association paid for a huge male recruitment campaign to get more dudes into better paying administrative positions, of course. Speaking of World War II, up until that point, the fledgling field of public relations was the province of persuasive dudes like PR conceptualizer Edward Bernays and press release pioneer Ivy Lee. But when America went to war against the Axis powers, both Rosie the Riveter and Peggy the PR girl went to work. Even after the war, between 1950 and 1960, the number of women in public relations jumped 200%, and women outpaced the number of men in the field by 1980, even though their paychecks have lagged behind ever since. Men started paying other men for haircuts and shaves in barbershops long before women started frequenting hair salons, which gave dudes an early leg up in the industry. Plus, unless you were super rich, 19th century women just did their hair at home. But as more women started working outside the home at the turn of the century, the demand for professional hairdressing went up because they no longer had as much time to just do it on their own. Not to mention, early 20th century hairstyles like 1920s bobs and permanent waves required more upkeep, and barbershops were not about to let a bunch of ladies in, which led to the development of women-owned and often racially segregated beauty parlors. And considering how hairdressing, along with things like dress and hat making, could be done in one's own home, this provided rare entrepreneurial opportunities for women at this time, and especially women of color who developed entire communities around beauty parlors, and not just back then, but also to this day. Up until the 1860s, secretarial work was masculine. But with the Civil War, those dudes left for the battlefields and women entered the office for the first time. And employers were totally down because they paid them just a third to half of what they used to pay the guys. And the ladies? Also totally down because A, it was considered a respectable middle-class job, and B, that paltry pay was still more than they would make sweating it out on a factory floor. And these jobs became so quickly feminized that by the 1870s, newfangled typewriters were advertised, much like the earliest computers, directly toward female operators. So it's little surprise then that by 1900, 77% of the secretarial workforce was women, who were also making less than 77 cents to every dollar that men were making. But who's counting?
It's coming on.